Good morning or good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's program, Cisco WebEx Beyond the Basics. We're glad to have you with us. A few housekeeping notes to begin. Today's session is being streamed via audio broadcast and does require that you leave the WebEx media player icon on your laptop for the duration of this program. If at any time you delete this icon and are disconnected from the audio, you can go to the Communicate menu on the toolbar and click on Join Audio Broadcast. We encourage you to ask questions at any time during today's event. Simply type your question into the Q&A panel to the right of your screen and click the Send button. If you need technical assistance, please direct your question to the host. Otherwise, please send your questions to all panelists. If at any time you are viewing the presentation in full screen, you can display the Q&A panel by clicking the question mark icon located on the floating toolbar, usually found at the top of your screen. Our panel of experts will endeavor to answer as many questions as possible. We value your feedback. At the end of today's webcast, you'll be able to give us your feedback via a short evaluation about today's presentation. At this time, I'd like to introduce our presenter, Caroline Wright. Caroline is a member of our Customer Success Training Team in the Team Collaboration Group at Cisco. She's been helping customers get up and running with Cisco WebEx for several years. Caroline, you now have the floor.
All right. Thank you, Brandy. Love that great introduction. Hello, welcome to our session. I hope everybody's having a great day so far. Hope you're having a little bit better weather than we are here in North Carolina. I'm going to go ahead and hop into our agenda. So again, this is our Beyond the Basics session. We're going to cover a little bit more than we covered in our introductory session, if any of you were able to join that back in February. So this is the only slide that I will be showing you today. Actually, it's one of two. I do have one more after this. Most of our session today is going to be live demonstration. I'm actually going to join a meeting in my personal room and show you how you can control a couple more advanced options, such as the video that I'm using right now, muting and unmuting your attendee audio, disabling entry and exit tones or changing them if you want to. And then we'll go into some presenter options for sharing content, sharing whiteboards, using annotations on those. And then I will show you how to use a poll in a WebEx meeting. We'll also discuss recording. And then we'll close out the demonstration, and then we will look at the scheduling process and how to add alternate hosts for your meetings when you've scheduled a WebEx meeting. Or if you need to let someone schedule a meeting on your behalf, I'll show you how you'll do that as well. So let's go ahead and jump right into the live session. I am going to turn off my video here so I can turn it on in the other session, so you will see that in just a moment. And I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to start a live meeting in my personal room. Let me make sure I click the meeting button. So what you're going to see is the actual join meeting process, joining a WebEx meeting. The first thing that pops up are my audio and video connection options. Over here on the right, you'll see there is a preview of my video. My video isn't going live to my attendees yet, so it gives me a chance to make sure that I'm camera ready. And then when I join, it will actually connect my video to the session. If for some reason I don't want to use my video, I can go up here and select no video. But for the best web conferencing experience, just turn your video on. It's great for everybody to be able to see you and for you to be able to see the attendees of your session. For my audio options, I'm going to use Call Me and have the meeting call me back at the phone number that I enter. But I do want to point out this Call My Video System option. This is a feature of Cisco WebEx Meetings video conferencing. When you join your WebEx meetings, if you don't see this option, it may just mean that that video conferencing option isn't enabled for your site or for your account. So you might just want to speak with your account team about how to get that enabled. And what that will do for you is it will allow people to join your WebEx meetings using a video endpoint device. So if you've got an investment in Cisco video infrastructure such as Telepresence or CX80, or even if you use another vendor's endpoint system, as long as it can dial a SIP address, you can use this Call My Video System function and have the WebEx meeting call you there. So I just wanted to point that out. So again, I am going to use the Call Me option to have this meeting call. So let me click the Connect Audio and Video, and you will see that connection happening in the back end. And my phone is ringing because it is calling me. Let me go ahead and answer that. And now my audio is going to be connected to this meeting in my personal room. I'm going to go ahead and lock the video on myself so that you can see me in the big screen here. So let me show you how to lock on a specific participant. I want to lock the video view for everybody, and I want to lock it on myself. So let me go ahead and select me here. So now you'll see me in this large screen up at the top. So basically this has disabled our active speaker video switching. Typically when you're in a WebEx meeting and there's other folks speaking, whoever is speaking will show up in this active video window up at the top. But as you can see, I just locked it so that the main video view will be on me there, since I'm the presenter of this session. All right, so a little bit about our video view. Right now, you're seeing me in this small video panel over on the right. I'm going to actually extend this video view out to full screen. And when I extend it out to full screen, I, as the main speaker, am taking up the majority of the screen. I can see all of the attendees of my meeting and the thumbnails below. So I am also going to show you our new grid view. When I click on grid view, you can see an equal view of all of the participants in my WebEx meeting. And just to let you know, we've got a very cool feature that's going to be rolled out to site starting in a couple of weeks. We're introducing a 5x5 grid view. What this means is that you will see 5x5 video here in the grid view. So you can see up to 25 video participants at one time in your WebEx meeting. And again, that's going to be coming out in just a couple of weeks. So let me escape out of there and come back into our main meeting window so I can show you some additional options. Now, one of the main things that I hear people ask about is how do I control noise in my meetings? You might hear people typing on a keyboard or hear some background noise that's in your attendees' immediate vicinity. As the host of that meeting, you can shut all that down, and I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do that. The first way is to just look for who is making noise in your attendee panel here. You can see I've got these little blue lines emanating from my audio source. So as the host of this meeting, I can just go in and select the microphone icon here, and it will mute that noise. And you're hearing me through the event. You're not hearing me through this meeting. So that's why it's muted on here, but you can still hear me. So if any of these other folks have been making noise, I would be able to do the same thing. Or you can right-click and then mute everybody all at one time. So if I were to right-click here, I could select mute all, and all of the audio would be muted. In the same token, I can unmute everybody right from this panel here. Now, let's say you don't want to try to manage this during the actual course of the session. If you go to the participant menu up here on the top, you have a lot of these options. So you've got the mute and unmute, unmute all, but you also have this excellent mute on entry feature. I like to use this for all of my large WebEx meetings. As soon as the meeting starts, I'll go in and select mute on entry. When I do that, everybody that joins the audio, their lines will automatically be muted. So you don't have to worry about looking and seeing who's making noise or muting everybody, unmuting everybody. Just go ahead and select mute on entry. Their lines will be automatically muted. And since this is a WebEx meeting, they can unmute their own lines if they need to speak. So they can just come in and unmute their own line here, and that will allow them to speak. Now, some other things that introduce noise in your meeting can be the entry and exit tones. So I will show you when we're scheduling a meeting how to disable that or how to change that when you're scheduling a meeting. So let's say that you didn't do that. You can come in here and select entry and exit tone, and it will turn off the entry and exit tones. You might be familiar with the fact when people join a WebEx meeting, you'll sometimes hear a beep. If you want to turn that off, just come in and select entry and exit tone to turn that off. Now, we're also going to talk about options for presenting content in a WebEx meeting. In order to be able to present your content, you need to have this little WebEx ball that you can see me hovering on with my mouse. This identifies that I am the presenter of the session, and I'm able to share my own content. Now, I can just simply click and drag on this ball to someone else to make them the presenter, and then they would be able to share their own content. We do have a feature that's called Anyone Can Share that's controlled in the participant menu up here. When this is enabled, that means that any of these folks can simply click on this WebEx ball that they see by my name and drag it down to their own name, and that will give them presenter rights. So if you have people who are really good about using WebEx and familiar with all of this, you may want to leave this enabled. Or if you prefer, as the host, to be able to control who can grab the ball and who to give the ball to for presentation rights, you can simply unclick this option. And now you can see Anyone Can Share is turned off, and no one can just come up and grab the ball away from me and start sharing. So that's something that you can do there. Now, once you do have the presenter ball and you're ready to share your content, there are a few different ways that you can share content within a WebEx meeting. Everybody is probably familiar with the share your screen option. That allows you to share your desktop, everything that you're seeing on your desktop. You can choose which monitor you want to share. But let's say you want to get a little bit more specific and share content in a different way. You can go to the share menu, and if you click more options here, or go to the share menu at the top of your page, you'll be presented with the same options. So I'm just going to click the more options here. I am going to show you sharing a file, and you'll see that it says, please note the caveats and the exceptions to this. When you share a file within a WebEx meeting, it's like a completed version of that file. You're not going to be able to make edits to the living document. If you want to be able to actually make edits or use what you're sharing, you would want to use an application share to do that. Another thing to be aware of is that if you are using WebEx video conferencing, the folks who have joined your meeting using a video endpoint will not be able to see what you have shared as a file. So please be cognizant of the people who have joined your WebEx meeting, and if you have people who have joined via video endpoints, you're going to want to use Share My Screen or Share Application. Both of those methods of sharing content will show on the folks' screens who have joined using their video endpoints. But let me quickly show you what it looks like to share a file. So I am going to navigate to my desktop, and everybody always flips when they see everything that I have on my desktop. Let me go to my folder for this session. And I'm going to open the slides that you saw at the beginning of the session. So now I am bringing this in as a file, and it's giving me that notification that video conferencing systems won't be able to share this, so it will give you that reminder. But it's bringing in these slides as a file into my WebEx meeting. When it brings them in as a file, it's going to open up this file as a tab in my WebEx meeting window. So now you can see that PowerPoint presentation is actually in my WebEx meeting. And I can control it using the end meeting controls that you see here. It'll allow me to tab forward and backward through the slides. And then I can use our annotation tools. That's what this little marker icon stands for. If I click on that, it opens the annotation tools that will allow me to actually mark up the slide that I'm sharing. So I'm going to move forward to our agenda slide here, and I can use the arrow pointer, and I can point out specific areas I want to make sure that you're paying attention to. Right now we're talking about sharing content, specifically using annotation. I can use the text tool if I want to add a couple of notes here to call out something specific. For instance, right now we're looking at annotations. A little bit later on, I am going to show you how to look at multimedia and share multimedia content in a WebEx meeting. So I can just go ahead and add that so that the folks viewing can see that on their screens. You can also use the annotation tools with our whiteboarding functionality. To open a whiteboard in a WebEx meeting, you'll simply click the new whiteboard icon up here at the top of your screen. The same limitations apply for folks who may have joined from a video endpoint. They will not be able to see the whiteboard that's being shared in your WebEx meeting. So again, just be cognizant of how folks have joined your meeting. When you open a whiteboard, it's a blank slate, just like you've got a whiteboard in a conference room. And you can grant rights to people in your meeting to allow them to actually mark up the whiteboard. So once you've granted annotation rights, people can use the annotation tools over here to click on the screen, or they can use the drawing tools, draw something on your whiteboard, do something work-related, like maybe do a flow chart, a diagram, list out some notes of action items that you want to save for later. Now, when everybody is done annotating on your whiteboard, if you want to save this to be able to use it again later, you can simply click the Save icon, and it will allow you to save this whiteboard as a PDF. So you can save it locally to your computer desktop so you don't lose all of those notes and action items and whatnot that you took during your meeting. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close out this whiteboard, and thank you to those of you who helped participate. And yes, I want to close this out. Right now, I don't want to save it, so it does give you a reminder to let you know. And I'm going to close out this file that I shared earlier as well. And now I'm going to show how you can share multimedia content in your WebEx meeting. If I click on Share Multimedia, it's going to give me a space where I can actually paste in a URL. So this is a great thing to use if you want to share a YouTube video or some content that you may have online. So let me open up my notepad here. And I'm actually going to show you all what it looks like to share a YouTube video. So when you share multimedia, it's going to open over here in the Multimedia Viewer panel. And let me pause this. When you're sharing multimedia content, the attendees will see this in the Multimedia Viewer panel, and they'll actually hear the audio of the video that you're sharing through their computer speakers. So when you load a video like this, make sure to remind your attendees to have their computer speakers on or have their computer speakers unmuted so that they'll be able to hear the content of the video that you're showing them. And I just want to give a shout out to everybody. We do have a WebEx scheduler for Google Calendar now, as you can see right here. So you might want to go out to YouTube and check this out if Google Calendar is something that you use in your day-to-day life. All right. The next thing I want to show you all is how to use polls in your WebEx meetings. Polls are something that I don't see a whole lot of people using, and I want to show how you can use those. So right now, I'm going to actually add a poll into my current WebEx meeting. And then I'm going to open the polling panel. When I open the polling panel, I can either create a poll on the fly by simply creating multiple choice or other type of question here, and then creating answers for it just below. Or I can open a saved poll, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. So let me go ahead and open a poll that I have saved. And I'm going to go back into my All for a Quick Class folder and open a poll that I created previously and then saved specifically to use in a WebEx meeting. So when I click Open the Poll, it brings the poll questions here into my polling panel. And I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll to my attendees by selecting the Open Poll button down here at the bottom. When I select Open Poll, it then opens the poll for my attendees to start to answer those questions. So you can see in the progress bar how many people are actually working on the poll, who has finished the poll. It will give them a 5-minute time limit to answer. Once I see that most of the folks have finished using the poll, I can simply close out the poll here. While the poll's in progress, I can look and see how folks are answering my questions. And why would you want to use polling? So I obviously use it here just to get a little bit of information for how my folks are doing and how much they love WebEx. That might not be something that you ask all of your attendees, but I figured this would be a good audience for that. It's a good thing to use as an icebreaker, or if you want to just get the pulse of the room, see how everybody's doing, make sure they're paying attention. It's a good thing to use a poll. So most of my folks have finished. I'm going to go ahead and close out the poll here. And then once the poll is finished, you'll see this polling is ended sign. I can go ahead and share those poll results with my attendees by selecting Share Poll Results and then clicking Apply. And then all the attendees in my meeting are going to be able to see the results of the poll that they just participated in. All right, last thing I wanted to show you all in this live demonstration is how to use recording in your WebEx meetings. A couple different ways that you can access recording. The first is by clicking on the Recorder panel that's right at the top of your screen, Or if you click on the Quick Start tab, you have a record button that lives right here. So if you click record, it's going to let you know that the meeting is being recorded. There is both a visible indication that the meeting is being recorded, and folks who have joined the audio of your meeting will also hear an audible notification that the meeting is being recorded. That way everybody knows that the meeting in session is being recorded. A recording is going to capture everything that happens in a WebEx meeting. So it's going to capture the audio of the meeting. It's also going to capture any content that's being shared. And that way, when people view the recording later, it's going to be like they didn't miss the meeting. They'll be able to hear everything that went on, see everything that happened, see the video that's being shared. So it's a really good way to give that same experience to folks who weren't able to join the live meeting. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end this demonstration, but not our session. So bear with me while I click end here, and I'm going to end this personal room meeting. And then I am going to bring us back into our live event. So let me open this real quick and turn my video back on. And thanks for bearing with me as I kind of hop back and forth between a couple different things. All right. Next couple things I wanted to show you are how to add alternate hosts to your meetings, and then if you need to grant scheduling permissions to somebody else, how you would do that. So I'm going to share my screen one more time. And this time we're going to take a look at my Outlook calendar. I use productivity tools to schedule pretty much all of my meetings. So I'm going to walk you through how I would schedule a meeting using productivity tools. First thing I'm going to do is invite attendees. Now, I want to add an alternate host to my meeting, so I want to make sure that whomever I'm inviting actually has a host account on my site. I'm going to add my colleague Neoma and another colleague of mine, Carol, to my meeting. This is just going to be a test meeting. I'm just going to put a little indication that this will be a WebEx meeting for them. Now I'll select Add WebEx Meeting. When I select Add WebEx Meeting, it's going to populate this Outlook calendar appointment with WebEx meeting details. And you can see it gives you a little placeholder information. This will actually be filled out with all of those meeting details if I save this invitation or if I send it. So if I save it, I can see all of those details here. But before I send this out, I want to make sure that I have selected Neoma to be an alternate host. So I'm going to select the Change Settings option here at the top. And it's going to open the WebEx settings box. There's a few different settings that you can enable here, but we're really going to focus on adding an alternate host. Although I did mention earlier in the call that you can disable the entry and exit tone here when you're scheduling. So I have most of my meetings set to no tone. If I want, I can switch it to beep or even have the WebEx meeting announce people's names. But I like to really cut down on as much noise and distraction in the meeting as possible, so I typically leave it at no tone. Now, to get back to adding an alternate host, if I click on the resources link, it's going to give me the option to select one of my attendees as an alternate host, or I could select several of my attendees as an alternate host. Again, you just need to make sure that whomever you're adding as an alternate host actually has a license on the site that the meeting is being hosted on. And I know that Neoma does. I'm going to add her and click OK. And now when I send this meeting, both Neoma and Carol will receive the meeting details in an Outlook calendar invitation. But further, Neoma is going to be notified that she's an alternate host for my meeting. So if for some reason I'm not able to start this meeting as the alternate host, she will be able to start it and run the meeting as the host of that session. Okay, let me go ahead and close this out. And now I am going to show you how you would add scheduling permissions. So let's say that you have somebody that you want them to be able to schedule meetings on your behalf. You'll need to go into your WebEx site and click on My WebEx. From your My WebEx tab, you will navigate to your Preferences and then Scheduling Options. Scrolling down the screen just a little bit, you'll see Scheduling Permissions. I'm going to hover over this Information tab so you can see what it tells you here, but it's the same thing that applies when you have an alternate host for your meeting. If you want someone to be able to schedule on your behalf, they need to have a host license on your site. And furthermore, if you want them to be able to schedule for you using Outlook and productivity tools, then you will need to make sure that they also have permission to your Outlook calendar. You can see my colleague Neoma is in here. I have granted her scheduling permissions, so she can either go in on Outlook or to her WebEx site and schedule a meeting on my behalf. So if you have an assistant or colleague, someone who needs to be able to schedule meetings for you, you can go ahead and just add them here by adding their email address and then click Save, and that will grant them permission to schedule on your behalf. All right. Let me go ahead and go back into our main presentation. And that is everything that I wanted to cover with you today. So let me take you to our final slide. A big thank you to everybody who attended the session today. There is going to be a survey that pops up when we end the session. I would really appreciate it if you all would complete that survey. Let me know what you thought of today's session. Let us know what you'd like to see in future sessions. We've been taking the feedback that we've received from our previous sessions and using that to build out additional quick classes. So please let us know what you'd like to see. We also have some other quick classes coming up. So you can go to this link here, cisco.com/go/quick-class, and register for one of our upcoming events. Coming up in May, we've got 2 events so far, one that's going to focus on using WebEx for training and another one that focuses on using WebEx for flawless events. And then in June, we have a best practices session coming up. So please, if you like this session and other ones you may have seen, go out and register for some additional sessions. Now, if you have any questions about anything that we covered today, want to see something in more detail, like how to create a poll or learn more about the scheduling permissions that I showed you, you can find all that information and more on our collaboration help portal. This is our one-stop shop for everything related to Cisco collaboration services. You can search for the answer to a question, you can look at the Getting Started guides or the training events, and you can even contact support directly from Collaboration Help Portal. That's it for me. Thank you all so much for your attention. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Great, thank you. Thank you again for participating in today's webcast. Just a reminder that as you exit out of the WebEx session, a short evaluation will appear in your browser. Please take a moment to complete the evaluation. We greatly appreciate your feedback. Thanks again and have a great day.